Well, after already recorded, rendered, and now uploading the video on the hidden vehicles in 1.27, I found out that we have already covered the ST-66 last time. Oops. Oh crap. Duplicate. I guess it's okay. Just ignore that part in the video, but proofreading goes out the window. We have already covered this vehicle. Alright, second part of the hidden vehicles in this patch. Centurion Mk.1A, Tier 7 Premium. Basically a stock Centurion at Tier 7, but possible Girls on Panzer collab again with the third set of vehicles, but the base model is exactly the same as with the Tier 8. Even down to the canvas, the dents in the side skirts, or the scratch marks, all of them are the same. So for now, no models yet, no 3D style, but it's practically a stock Centurion at Tier 7. So 17-pounder gun. It's slightly better than the 77 on the Comet, but doesn't have the mobility or the DPM of the Comet in comparison, but it's a stock Centurion. So crew of 4 fits all the Centurions or high tier British medium tanks, but otherwise stock turret is kind of crap and mobility is not the greatest. So like with a Proto Eagle 7 in a sense, but the T26E3, so camo kind of crap for a medium, but then again assault medium tank without the armor. And view range is alright for a Tier 7, but it's okay of a filler, I guess, or a collaboration. Usually the vehicle is not that great, like the PT.2. That vehicle on purpose, on paper, is not the best vehicle out there, right? It's not like the anime where you can drive off-road without the tracks or reload every like 3 seconds. No, it's not like that. So the vehicle on purpose is not the craziest, but dispersion while moving is okay. Terrain resistance is not the greatest, but compare this with a Comet, and definitely not as good DPM, better pin though, not as good accuracy, but better dispersion, not as good mobility, obviously, but about the same top speed. Well, it's not the Cromwell. Cromwell has about 65, so as expected, but worse terrain resistance. You do carry more ammo, but you do run out of shells in the Comet. A little bit more health and arbitrary more armor, but doesn't matter. You'll see Tier 9s get your face wrecked, but it's fine, I guess. Collaboration is fine, and I'll show out all the money for the collab, of course. But moving on, the Hetzer Panzer III, the Panzer 38K, basically a Panzer 38T with the upgraded package of the armoring, but putting a turret on top. And there you go. Should be a Panzer III or Panzer IV turret. They don't say. Looks more like a Panzer IV turret. It's a little bit wider. Should be a Panzer IV turret. But 75mm, L48. It's fine, I guess, of a looking of a vehicle, but the Hetzer Panzer III, Panzer IV, I thought this was going to be the well-deserved reward until we saw the Gabler's destroyer, and that vehicle is a special category. This one's a premium, so likely a filler in this year's large boxes. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to have 2 German medium tanks at Tier 5 back to back for well-deserved reward. Yeah, kind of obvious now when I think about it, but it's okay. I have my Girls on Panzer crew, so they'll be fine. 5-man crew. Fits Sayori as well. Radio operator is always missing from the high tier German medium tanks, but DPM's alright. Accuracy about the same. Penetration about the same. Aim time is relatively quick, but yeah, let's just compare this with a Panzer IV, or even the Panzer III, or Panzer IV F3, what the hell is that thing? Panzer IV F2, not the F3. So let's compare it with last year's well-deserved reward. Less alpha, but better pin, better DPM, better accuracy, better mobility, dramatically better mobility. 12.7 horsepower per ton ratio for a medium tank is not great. So this thing does have a lot more boost in the engine power department, but the dispersion while moving sucks ass. And let's compare this with the actual Panzer IV-H from the anime. Yeah, not as good dispersion while moving, but slightly better horsepower per ton ratio and better top speed. So a little bit more nimble at the cost of armor. Yeah, 80 at the whole front compared to 40 on this thing. So it is slope 40, but it's not great. Less view range, same gun depression, less ammo count, so only 60 rounds. I mean, it's not as bad as something of a Turin 3 or Panzer 3K, but yeah, potential damage is dramatically lower. Therefore, you run out of shells, so don't spam too much, even though you have better DPM and better accuracy, better aim time. Let's compare this with the Panzer 3K. This thing is notorious for having no ammo. 48. The same applies to the Turin 3 Prototipo. So Turin 3 has no ammo, 39 rounds of a freaking 75mm. Yeah, you have no ammo on that vehicle. So this thing, in all retrospect, is better than the Turin 3 or Panzer 3K, Panzer 4 F2. It's fine, I guess. You could use a little bit more ammo, like 20 more shells or 40 more shells, but it's still fine. It's more nimble, better engine power than the counterparts, and better top speed, better accuracy, better aim time. About the same gun performance of the 75, so feels okay, feels decent enough. So not the worst, but yeah, low tier has no armor whatsoever, so don't get pinned. But 55 and 21, 22 horsepower per ton ratio, yeah, not that bad. Yeah, definitely not that bad. Alright, moving on. We're looking at fillers, but this one is this year's well-deserved reward. Very likely to be this year's well-deserved reward. Special tank category, the Gabler's Destroyer. It is still considered as tracks, not wheels. So if you get your tracks blown off, the caterpillar tracks blown off, you're stuck. So you cannot really drive on the wheels, unfortunately, but at least the traverse speed will be taken into account since it's not wheels. So that might be the upside, but it's a light tank. It's not really a medium. And 5-man crew, so find your crew members from low tier light tanks than the high tier. High tier has only like 3 or 2. So not that many crew members, but a 6-pounder gun, autoloader, 4-round clip. I thought it was 3. Did they buff it? Interesting. They might buff this vehicle from 3 rounds in the clip to 4 rounds now. DPM is still crap, but at least you have a little bit better burst damage, slightly. Oh, I mean, yeah, 3 rounds is not that great considering alpha damage is not that high. But alright, let's see. Gabler's Destroyer. Dispersion while moving is bleh. I mean, okay-ish, I guess, but 4 rounds. Burst fire damage is 300 for 3 seconds. It's 1 second between each shot, so machine gun dump the shells, but 12 degrees gun depression, 20 elevation, 100 rounds. Shell velocity could be better, but then again, low tier. It is still 12 degrees of gun depression. No armor whatsoever, and it's a big body too. Large, chunky body of a design, so about the same size as a medium tank, practically. And mobility is not bad, about 28.5 horsepower per ton ratio, and 65 kilometers per hour top speed. Does weigh a little bit more than the average, about 20-ish tons. So go ram a 8-ton vehicle or 9-ton vehicle, you'll deal some damage, but then again, hull armor is not the thickest for ramming, so it's only about the weight. Camo, fat medium tank-ish, And view range, alright. So play this thing like a medium tank. It's not really a light tank. It's a large, chunky body of a Crusader wannabe. And the recoilless launcher does absolutely nothing. It's only cosmetic. So it's a large body. Look at the body of this. So massive. And the tracks doesn't work like actual tires. You get detracked and you're stuck. But okay, fine. I mean, free vehicle is free, I guess. Yay. Alright, the most interesting one for me is a Sherman tank with a Russian 100mm stuck to it. God, this thing is disgusting. It's like a wannabe priest or M3 of a vehicle, right? The M7 priest has the uprise for the cupola. It's more open. That's why they call it the priest. So it's like a podium of sorts, but it's a big gun. The same cupola that's on a T-34-85 practically, but with a Russian 100mm strapped to the upper chassis. So big mantlet, big caliber for a tier 5. Does pack a punch, but the downside to it is the DPM is not the highest out of a tier 5. So you're only about the alpha damage and the surprise against tier 7s. I mean, they won't be expecting a 235mm pin from a freaking tier 5 with 250 alpha behind it. So granted, you have to hit the shell. Accuracy is not great. Aim time is not that great. But I guess you have the punch, and I do prefer better consistency out of this vehicle, out of stuff like the SU-122, right? In comparison. So this thing is more reliable than the shotgun derp guns on the SU-122. But yeah, 4-man crew, armor, Sherman tank 51 at the front, 38 at the hull sides. Not that much armor. You'll get pinned. It's low tier. Yeah, you have no armor. Only 60mm effective. Mantlet is about 100. So not the craziest of mantlets when you think about it. If we're using a 75mm with about, let's say, 110-ish, 120mm pen, most of the time we'll go through the mantlet and we'll go through the gun barrel. So the mantlet is not that crazy unless you hit it at a bad angle, like the rounded parts of the mantlet. I mean, yeah, it has no armor. Snipe, I guess. Versatile. There's no category at low tier, so technically you could do whatever the hell you want, but it's more like a versatile. Not really about the armor. Camo is not half bad, 20.4. But then again, all low tier tank destroyers have very good camo. Mobility is alright. It's fine enough. It's more like a medium tank chassis, so that's fine. View range could be better. So it is close top. You could put vents on this thing compared to the priest, but yeah, it's fine. I guess it's better than the SU-122, and that's not saying much. The 𝗛𝗵𝗃2, the howitzer on a 𝗛𝗵𝗃3 from tier 5 practically, but it's a derp gun. It is not like War Thunder, like what you guys mentioned, so not really that OP of a vehicle in World of Tanks standards, and doesn't really one-shot nowadays with a nerf to high explosive because you cannot have fun with derp guns, but more like a direct artillery behind a heavy tank or medium tank or something, but yeah, has no freaking armor. Crew of 5, 105mm derp. It's AP standard, but if you do hit, only 64mm of penetration, so mostly you'll use high explosive with less pen but more alpha. Yeah, the gun is not that great. I haven't even talked about dispersion on this thing. Alright, fine, it's still garbage, but then again, it's a tank destroyer. This thing also is not that great. 0.25 while traversing and moving. It's mostly about turn traverse, pseudo turn traverse dispersion, but Yeah, base accuracy is also crap. And you're not using AP, you're using high explosive. Mobility is crap too. Not the fastest. Has no armor. It collects dust. Camo also not as good as surprisingly the SU-100I for some reason, but yeah, okay. Low tier, tier 4. Unfortunately, tier 4s will see tier 6. That's a downside. So you will see the likes of TOGs or T150s, KV2s, ONIs, or not ONIs, OIs, but the Mito 130 per se. But yeah, you'll get wrecked. You get definitely wrecked. It's even worse of a filler tank. So I wouldn't expect anything good out of this thing, but collect it to collect dust, whatever. All right, and the Stuart, M3A3 Stuart, more like a M5 Stuart in our comparison based on the turret and the chassis design. So better engine power, better hull size for the inside compartment for the crew compared to the usual M3 Stuarts, but it's a fine looking vehicle. I mean, if you already love the Stuart, this is already like the 6th Stuart in the game. So we have a lot. One for the Russian, one for the Brit, 2 for Americans, 1 for Chinese. The 6th Stuart in the game, but rapid firing gun. It's a 37mm, 37, similar to the Locust, but well, mostly paper armor. But then again, you could bounce a few machine gun rounds. It's at tier 3. You won't see tier 5s. That's a plus. The worst thing you could see is a Matilda or Panzer 2J. Well, then again, gold shell you could pin on the Panzer 2J. Somewhat. You have to be very close range and directly flat in terms of armor hitting, but or the FCM Pack 36 or Pack 40, but that thing has the view range to counter you. 61 km/h top speed. Horsepower per turn ratio is not as crazy as you would think, but this thing is slower than the Locust. Has better gun performance, so better accuracy, better aim time. That's fine. Camo could be better. It's all low tier filler tanks. Dispersion while moving is not that bad. I mean, could be better, like 0.12 or 13, but could make it work. Potential damage might be kind of if, but then again, low tier. Shell velocity could be better. Camo could be better, but then again, it's more about the gun, more about medium tank playstyle than the Locust. We already cover all of these vehicles. There might be a few slight buffs, like with the Gabler destroyer, but very slight. And the T3E2 medium tank, similar 37 as well. Crew of 4. It's a medium, not a light, but firepower wise, about the same gun performance, less penetration, surprisingly. Yeah, less pen for a 37 by like 10mm. DPM is also kinda slightly less, but worse accuracy, faster aim time, better horsepower per turn ratio than a light tank for some reason. A lot better horsepower per turn ratio at 36 km/h top speed, or horsepower per turn ratio. 56 km/h top speed is also pretty good at this low tier. It's a little bit more nimble than the Stuart, but camo is also better for some reason. Not as good view range and not as good radio. Alright, give or take. But yeah, this thing is more nimble than the light tank when you're playing a medium tank. But then again, it's more like a BT light tank, right? So not really a medium. It's more like a large light tank in a sense. Yeah, not as good radio, not as good view range, but you do have better horsepower per turn ratio and better top speed. No, say a little bit worse top speed, but you rev up to that top speed guaranteed with that horsepower per turn ratio. Okay, I mean, both vehicles have about the same DPM, but this thing has worse accuracy, but same aim time, and worse dispersion while moving. So The Stuart will hit the shots more consistently than this thing, but this thing is faster. Funny enough. Alright, I mean, a few trade-offs. It's a filler tank. One of these will be the New Year's gift. I don't know which one, but we only need 5 out of the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one of these will be the gift. I am leaning towards the Stuart, but maybe even the T3E2 medium. We got the T3E1 as last year's gift, right? I don't remember, but we already have the E1 version in the game, but okay, one of these is the gift. And finally, AMR P.103, old vehicle. We already covered this thing from way back when with the standard def pre 1.0 update. So old ass vehicle, old as frick vehicle, but 25mm. It's practically a machine gun at this point, autocannon, but it has decent enough mobility, surprisingly compared to stuff like the R35, H35, some of the larger vehicles, larger light tanks of low tier French origin. So yeah, better mobility in this thing than the R35s or H35s, but doesn't have as much armor. So only 20 compared to about 40. So it doesn't really bounce that much, but tier 2 is tier 2, whatever. So yeah, it's okay, I guess. It's a little light tank and you collect dust playing this thing. So we're going at a faster pace than the actual high tier vehicles, which does make sense, right? Because high tier vehicles, but dispersion while moving is kind of if. Turn resistance is also kind of if. Yeah, it's a low tier filler tank. So there we go, folks. We'll do the prediction video coming right up, but surprisingly, like I said, no Comres 75, which should be considered as a low tier vehicle, but not really here. So I already mentioned this previously on the last video, but I mean that would make a little bit better choice of a well-deserved reward, but it's not here. So for now, just all these vehicles. But what's also interesting about this patch is 3D Styles now has a freaking filter. Thank God. Can we make a favorite of 2D Styles? Nope. Crap. Yeah, you cannot make a favorite out of 2D Styles. But granted, now it's easier to find 3D Styles without going through the list. So that's a big plus. Also 3D style attachments or keychains as they would call it. But there's no actual video. There's a placeholder thingy-majig, placeholder stuff. So they'll announce it later on, but I think you can buy it in the shop later on or buy the common stuff later on. I have no idea. So equipped together or separately. 3D Styles is separate, yada yada. But yeah, there's nothing in the store. And they'll micro patch all the new stuff later on, like the 3D attachments or the holiday ops 3D styles later on. They usually do that, so they won't announce it. They won't spoil it in the common test. It's been that way since the dawn of time. If they do, I'll spoil it. I'll show you the actual 3D styles, but yeah, there's nothing here. There's nothing. There's no 3D keychains or attachments, none of that. So they'll show you later on, but for now, yeah, the little keychain for your, I think, high tier vehicles. Also, the filter is better now. So they added the 3D style filter. Vehicles that have a 3D style. So yeah, all the vehicles with 3D style will show up. Other than like T92 howitzer mortar carriage. Only tier 10 that doesn't have a style. Other than the WZ132-1. Some other vehicles at tier 10 doesn't have a 3D style. So yeah, like I said, some vehicles like the T62A fell out of favor comparison to an Object 140. This thing has like 3D styles, whereas the T62A has nothing. This thing has nothing going for it because it's an old ass collector's tank legacy vehicle, but whatever. So there you go, folks. All the low tier vehicles. Again, I've fudged up and covered the ST66 again, so ignore that part of the video. The video is already rendered and uploading right now, so just ignore it. But for now, all the low tier filler tanks are more or less decent, other than this piece of crap, the 𝗛𝗲2. And I think they're fine mostly, so you won't have that bad of a time playing it. But then again, low tier is low tier. Usually the fun starts at tier 6, usually. For like personal missions or battle pass stuff, usually starts at tier 6 with field mods and all the equipment slots and other stuff. But it's still fine. Gabler Destroyer, okay, well-deserved reward. Has nothing to do with legacy vehicles like the Super Hellcat to the original Hellcat, or the T50-2 to the original T50-2, or the 𝗏𝗏 to the original 𝗏𝗏, Super 𝗏𝗏, technically, whatever. But as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace. 思い出せる世に残された目印ああえいやああふわああえやまるでおとぎの話終わり迎えた証私を変えた出会い100分の1の旅路